Artemis HD. I really hope you guys like the Panzer IV video. This is now a Tigers video, so let's get on with the video. I will be talking about brief history and talking about a famous tank commander in this video, and talking about, again, my playstyle, my tactics. Let's first start off with my tactics that I like to play in. As I'm in the Tiger, just like the real life counterpart, is actually developed and made to be a tank killer. It's just like any other self-propelled gun or tank destroyer. Tanks really basically snipers themselves too. They're more for engaging targets or enemies or tanks at greater distances. I talked about in the Panzer IV video about Echo or E or Edward flag in the beta. That's probably going to be in the base game, by the way. There was a greenhouse, and I mentioned about fortification up here. You can actually fortify the location near Echo, and I'm talking to you on both teams, basically. You guys can do stuff. For capturing the German flag, I would say hold this ground too and look over Echo. One squad at the flag, one squad on the hill. On the German side, though, that any good tanker like me, I know I'm a good tanker because I know that I'm getting a lot of kills. I haven't died once, or only died once, and I'm lowering the enemy player ticket count. A lot of the players don't realize that I was actually up on the hill sniping with a tank until it was too late. And the best part is that it felt very realistic almost, in my opinion. I felt I was in a Tiger and I was engaging the enemies, and I was engaging even other tanks at greater distances just by Echo. Now you might say I'm back at spawn not doing anything, but I am doing a lot of things. I'm defending a flag, I'm also driving into that flag, and I don't just dominate when I'm over at above Echo. I dominate both flags, Echo and Foxtrot, or flag F, and you know, that greenhouse, that area I mentioned, is very big. You can see, you can dominate that whole entire area in a tank, basically, and just engage at greater distances your enemy targets. I know a lot of players will whine and complain about the way I play my tactical advantages or the way I play in tanks, but right here you can clearly see what I'm talking about is the truth. I haven't died once, and the only time I left the hill was to replenish my ammunition and reload. That's the other thing I like about Battlefield 5, is that it's really nice knowing that it takes skill now. It feels like I have to use skill to reload ammunition, go back to a position, take that spot over, and be very tactical at thinking where the enemy's gonna go. In several parts of this video, you're gonna see some amazing shots where basically I'm looking over and being like, I think there's an enemy there. And usually I was right on my hunch. And that's just being a tanker in general, because Narvik, even though it's a little open, it's also still very urban environment, basically, in close quarter combat situation with an armored vehicle. So I do have to be very cautious and careful when I'm in a vehicle. Now, knowing that and talking about the tactics, let's get with stats of the actual real life machine or monster. It was known as the Panzerkampfwagen 6 or Tiger 1, or Tiger 1 as it's pronounced in English. The Tiger 1 was developed in some haste in 1941 after Operation Barbarossa, when the German military went up against KV-1s and 2s. Those were actually the Soviets' heavy tanks, and Germany did not know that the Soviets had heavy tanks, and the Soviets were doing very bad damage to the Panzer divisions. So in haste, Hitler and the armor development demanded a tank should be built, and Hitler actually personally appointed two designers, Ferdinand Porsche and Hetzel. Both were car designers, and they had basically a competition with each other. They're both rivals, actually. Both of them came up with two different designs that both looked similar. One was called the Tiger Porsche or Tiger P. It had more frontal armor than Hetschel's Tiger, though Hetschel's Tiger basically ran a lot better. So basically Hetschel won. A lot of the Porsche Tigers were actually converted into Ferdinands, also known as the Elevants. If Battlefield 5 does variant small arm weapons, I really hope they do variants of vehicle customization where I can actually play as those variants. And hopefully we get to see the Ferdinand Porsche Tiger and the Ferdinand Elephant. Alright. So let's go, guys. Let's talk about the stats of this monster. It featured, in some versions of it, 3-2 machine guns. It had 2 coaxial machine guns. One was mounted near the main armament in the turret. The other was mounted in the hall where the co-driver seat is / radio man is. The third one would have been up atop near the commander's cupola if there was one mounted there. Both of them were either all MG34s, and maybe one might have been an MG42. It depends on what year, basically. It was a crew of 5 that actually worked in this tank, and its main armament was 3.46 inch or 8mm gun on here. The 8mm was originally a flak gun that was basically, when the Germans realized you can kill tanks with it, they realized that, yeah, let's put it on a vehicle. So they realized that they invented something that would improve tank designs into that era. Armor, though, the maximum armor hull originally was 3.94 inch or 100 meters. Later versions or variants of it would have double that, actually, when they started coming up against ISs, earlier version ISs. Some Tigers later in the assembly line were ordered probably around like 1943, 1944. Newer Tiger ones, Tiger ones, were actually ordered to be having hull armor of hull armor would be up to more than 20 more meters, so basically 120 meters thick, with the side armor being 3.15 inch or 8mm on the sides and rear. Actually, the funny thing is, the only way you were able to kill the Tiger was that to basically shoot it right up the butt. I don't want to use the A word, but that's really it. You actually had to kill a Tiger tank up the butt. It would take a 5 tank squad of Shermans to actually wipe out one Tiger, because the Tiger 1 was able to actually kill 4 Shermans, and the other one, who was lucky if he wasn't seen by the actual Tiger commander, was able to shoot the Tiger in the butt. For the most part, I don't know why, but that was the only way we could ever go on tank against the Tiger and beat him. Same thing with T-34s. Now let's talk about a famous tank ace that used the Tiger very effectively and very deadly. His name is Michael Whitman. He died in Normandy, France, 1944. The way he died is still a mystery to this day. No one knows how he died, but we know that his Tiger was destroyed. He was actually ambushed by British and Canadian forces. The Canadian force was using a new type of Sherman called the Firefly. It had a British 17-pounder gun on it that would actually penetrate through side hull 8mm thick armor of a Tiger tank. So now that we actually had a Sherman, at least the Canadians and British had a Sherman now that was almost equal because of its gun, basically, to kill a Tiger. No one knows who did it. Some say it was the Canadians. I believe it was the Canadians who killed Michael Whitman. Others believe it was bomber pilots. Others believe that it was the British who did it. There was the Sherbrooks, and I think a yeomanry unit that was involved. Michael Whitman has the most outstanding in military tank history. He is actually the ace of aces. He was decorated not once, but twice by Adolf Hitler personally. He was part of the Leutchendater, Adolf Hitler division. And he was basically the human embodiment of the Panzer Credo. Wherever he was, his tank unit or Tiger unit of 5 Tigers or 4 Tigers would basically mop up areas where the Germans would basically have gaps in the line, and that was on the Eastern Front. Michael originally single-handedly wiped out 20 or 30 T-34s on a road. Originally, the Soviets had commander tanks or Commissar tanks. Commanders who control the whole division of tanks in a column would lead in the front. He actually wiped out a commander tank, and all the other tanks didn't know what to do, and so they were trapped on the road. He single-handedly charged down the road and knocked them out one by one. He did this in Normandy against British, Canadian, and American forces. He single-handedly took out at least 20 vehicles, including armored troops transport vehicles. He later drove into a city or urban environment where it was one lucky anti-tank gun, and their crew was able to knock out his tank by taking out the tracks. He later abandoned that tank and got into a different Tiger. It wasn't until day 3 after that that he was actually interviewed, and there is videos of that, of talking about his interview and what he did. After the same day, there was an issue in the gap. What he did that 3 days before he died was basically he actually slowed down the American, English, and Canadian advance and slowed down the Normandy invasion for quite a while. One single Tiger did that under a commander named Michael Whitman. It took more than 20 tanks to kill his whole entire squad. 4 Tigers were found dead in a field, and on either sides of the field there was the Sherbrooks and the Yeomanry, who both Canadian force and the British forces combined wiped out a Tiger unit that Michael Whitman commanded. He was also nicknamed the Black Baron. But anyway, I really hope you guys liked the way I told you about my tactical gameplay and about the history of the vehicle, and actually a famous tank commander. Actually in Lacombe Cemetery, France today, he's actually one of the few only tank aces that actually still gets his gravestone decorated with fresh flowers every day and toy little tanks. But anyway, I'm Artemis HE. I'll see you all later on the battlefield. Bye everyone. Bye!
Objective